Hi everyone, it's Louise from Bright Star Creative, here with a new make for the Autumn Collaborative. And I thought I would make these hands, you know, the open hands. And I've got a nice little idea for what we're going to do with them after they've set. So it's going to be a two-parter, this one. So we're going to do the first pour, which is to get the hands going and get those setting so we can move on and do the fun and exciting stuff. Okay, so I have mixed up quite a lot of resin. Let me just check. What do I think it is? Yes. So I have made 300 mils of my Texpert epoxy resin. It's a 1-to-1 and you measure by volume. I've mixed that up. The reason I do it before I start recording is because I have to wear my PPE, like everyone should, and you can't hear a lot with the mask on. So we've done that ready, and what I'm going to do now is add in some, hang on, we've got some husky glitter going on there. Some Let's Resin alcohol ink. These are the intense ones, the intense inks. The first one I'm going to put in is the yellow. So we'll do, oh no, new one. We need to make a hole in it first. Hold on. Let's just use our handy dandy pin. Hopefully, if I don't stab myself. There we go. Right, now it's quite a lot of resin, so I'm going to put about 5 drops in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's the yellow, and we're going to also put in a couple of drops of the lemon yellow, which is a bit more of how do I put it? It's got a slight touch of an orange tinge to it, more like an egg yolk yellow. Okay, so we're just going to put a few drops of that in. 3, just 4 drops of that one. And give that a stir. Just remember to keep your, even when you're stirring in your colours, keep things low and slow. Otherwise you're going to end up with your bubbles. Quite like that, the fact that you can't rush resin. So it's quite therapeutic. And sometimes you come in, you start your project and you're all stressed out, and it won't let you rush, because the minute you do, you end up with bubbles galore. So it's quite a nice way to relax and unwind, and also, you know, let your creative juices flow, and it takes your mind off every day. And we all have difficulties in life, be it financial or relationships or illness, and we all need an escape. And I think you just need to find your escape, whatever that might be, you know. Could be anything, could just be reading, could be anything. But you just need to find something that helps you switch off and switch your mind off from the everyday stresses. And for me, that's resin work. I love doing this. The only unfortunate thing is the cost. The cost of the resin can be a little bit extortionate. You have to shop around, and also every resin is different, and it depends what you're making. And the only way you're going to learn what's best is to just keep practicing and keep trying things out until you find what's right for the project you're doing. And with experience, you start to learn that, you know, the viscosity of a resin and its characteristics, and you'll know which is the right resin. Right, now we're going to pop in a little bit of sparkle, because we have to have sparkle. I always have to have sparkle. Right, that one is the, again, this is more, got two different yellows, and again, this is more of the, like the first alcohol ink I put in. This is like more like the egg yolky one. So we're just going to pop a little bit of this one in. I don't want to put too much of anything in because I want this to be quite translucent. And I'd like to, because I want the main show to be what we're going to do with these hands afterwards. And I'm not going to tell you, so you're going to have to come back for part 2 just to find out what we're going to make. And if you're anything like me, nosy, you won't be able to stay away. Now just mix that in. It's such a pretty, very delicate sparkle, that. It's lovely. And it's not taking away from the translucence of the colour. If you want to see what your colour's looking like, it's quite difficult when it's in a big pot like that. You can't get a real sense of it. So get some tissue or kitchen roll and just pop a little bit on. Now that actually is very pale on the colour. Could probably do with a little bit more in there. So we'll go back to the yellow again, because in there that looks quite dark, but it, you know, as you can see on that tissue, there was barely anything at all. So we'll add a little bit more in, give that a mix, and then we'll have another look and see if we've got it where we want it. To say, I want it to be translucent, but I do want some colour in there. Now this make with the hands, you could add in all sorts of things. You could add in leaves, real leaves, dried leaves, silk, flowers. There's so many things you can do with this. And I'm going to have a little look in my stash and see if there's something I can pop in here that will reflect the autumn mood. So when you come back for part 2, you'll be able to see if I found anything. Right, let's have another look at this colour now. There we go. That's better. That's as much colour as I want in this. Perfect. Okay. So we're going to do our pour. Here's our mould. Now what I am going to do, because there's quite a few little bits in there, I'm going to give it a little spritz of alcohol just to help. Oh, might need to fill that up. There we go. Just to help loosen any bubbles that want to cling to the edges. There we go. And because it's alcohol ink, I can use the alcohol on the mould. Now, if you're doing UV resin, you can't use alcohol on your mould or on your resin at all to get rid of the bubbles. We'll just do that nice steady flow there. Hope that we've made enough. It does take quite a lot of resin, this mould. I don't know. I think we might have to make some more up. It could be interesting. So we're going to have to match the colour as well. So now I've got to remember how many drops of everything I did. Can you remember? Can you remember how many drops I did? This is why it is a really good idea to keep by your side a little notebook, and you can just jot down as you go what ratio you're doing, how many drops of whatever colour you're putting in, because quite often this happens, and you do find yourself with not quite enough, needing to mix a second batch, and you want to match it, you know, you don't want to stripe. So luckily I think I can remember, and I need to get myself a new notebook, certainly, so I can keep an eye on what I'm doing. We're going to keep that there so we can see and try and match to this on the tissue. If nothing else, we can, you know, keep that as a guide and an idea of what colour we're needing. I'm going to put you on pause for a second, mix up a second batch and pop it in, and then we're just going to let this set. So I'm not going to bore you with that because it's basic stuff and you've seen me do most of the pour. We're going to come back when this is set, and then we're going to do our second half. Okay guys, so I will see you in for you a blink of an eye, and for me probably about 3 hours, 4 hours. Okay, all right, see you soon. Bye. Welcome back everyone, Louise Bright Star Creative, and we are returning to unmold our open hands that we made earlier, and for me to reveal the second part to this make for the Autumn Collaborative. So without further ado, and I did not peek, it was very good, I really wanted to, but I behaved myself. Now we have a bubble there, but it is on the bottom, so I am not too worried about that. That can be smoothed out and dealt with. The main thing is the top, where we're going to see everything. I'm just going to have a little bit of a fight with this, so I might need to come out of frame and just hold it against myself to stretch this off. It's not for the weak, this resin stuff, is it, eh? Right, we're nearly there. Just fold this back. It's incredible how stretchy these moulds are and how they just return to how they were. Okay, we have released our fingers, and there we have it. There are our beautiful open hands. I love the detailing on this mould. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, my idea was and is for this to make a woodland pond, a woodland little, yeah, pond. Can't be a lake, wouldn't be big enough, would it? More of a puddle, but you know what I'm getting at. Okay, so I have got some things together, but obviously first thing we're going to need is water. So I think I'm going to go for something quite blue because I want it to stand out, and I want the water to stand out against the yellow of the hands. And I know in my new box of Let's Resin alcohol inks that there is a few really pretty blues, and there is one called Cerulean. Now there is a card which I think is brilliant, and I've not seen this. They put in a colour chart for you. How useful is that? Now Cerulean is this one. I'm thinking that will look, and it's actually against yellow there. I think that will stand out really beautifully. So I think we're going to go with that. I'll just get that one out, pop that back. It's a really, really lovely set of alcohol inks, and the fact that they are intense alcohol inks is even better, in my opinion anyway. Okay, so we need to make up some resin, and I'm just debating whether to do this in layers. In fact, yes, I think I will. because I want to try and create some depth. And I have got some leaves and things that I would like to pop in so that they look like they're under the water, maybe, so that we're getting some layers. I've also got some dried flowers, and I'm just going to pick off just some small little blossoms there, just again to maybe put on the surface of the water. And then we have a few fun bits to go at the end, but I will show you those once we get there. Let's just do the basics first. We've got some really lovely little, they're kind of, well, I don't know what flower they are, and they've obviously been dyed different colours, but they look great on here. And I have also got, I don't know how this is going to come out, some stickers of some fish. Hopefully that's not shining in the light too much. Let's angle it. There we go. I'm thinking maybe that might be fun to put in. So we have lots to play with. But the main thing is, and the first thing is to get this water made so that we can start creating. Oops, we've got some ferns and all sorts of things there. One thing I was looking for, and I haven't got, was lily pads. I thought that would look great, and so I'm going to look out for some lily pad stickers or transfers, because I think that would look brilliant in there. The other thing I've got is in my little pot here is some snail shells, which I thought would be great, because it is a not, you know, it's a natural like rainwater it would be filled by, I suppose, or, you know, so fresh water, that's what I was looking for, fresh water. So yes, let's get the resin going. I'm again just debating, am I going to use UV? Can't use UV if I'm going to use alcohol inks. Right, so we will use normal. In fact, I've got a fast set. Let's use, have I got any left? No, we will use the normal resin. Okay, I've made my mind up now. Okay, let's put our hands out the way for a minute, and let's get our resin put together. I'm going to pause you, get that done, and then bring you back when we're ready to carry on. Okay, so see you in a minute. Hi, we're back again. Now I've made up the resin, and I've used 100 mils of the Texpert epoxy resin. Got my PPE on like a good girl, and we have stirred this for 4 minutes, and slowly in one direction, to make sure we don't get, or we get as few bubbles as possible until there is no streaking, and that is what they advise. So next is to add our cerulean blue until we get to a colour that we're happy with. So we'll get our handy dandy tool out and make a hole in there. There we go. That's it. Now I'm thinking we'll start with 3 drops. 1, remembering that this is an intense ink, alcohol ink. So right, that's 3 drops. Let's just see how that goes. I kind of just want a hint of blue. I don't want it to be too dark, because I want also to be able to see through it, obviously, because we're doing hopefully some stickers perhaps underneath the surface of the water. So let's just see, it's still got some streaks in. Just have a little look at, yeah, that's too pale. I mean, that was barely there, isn't it? So we'll put a little bit more in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3.5. Let's see if that gets us where we want to be. It's looking a bit better, isn't it? It's such a pretty colour. Let's have a little look at that. A little bit more. I do want it to kind of look blue against the yellow. So it's getting that balance, isn't it? Let's see how this goes. And I think that might be where I want to be. Can't decide. Is that going to show up? Maybe just 2 more drops. Right, that's it. That should be it now. It actually looks quite dark in the jug or the bowl, but that's because it's, you know, a concentrated amount. Although it will be fairly concentrated in the hands, it's got to stand out against the yellow. So I think we're good there. Now there is a little bit of glitter in here from the making the hands, but that's fine. I'm fine with that. I'm good with that because it, you know, it will just blend in. So let's bring our hands back in. That's it. Oops, let's get that away before we spill it. Okay. Now, question is, do we start with some greenery at the bottom? I was thinking actually of maybe kind of doing something like that. We'll see. I think we'll put this water in first, and then we can judge where we're at. So let's just pour it in like so. Oh, okay. No, we didn't think about that, did we? Okay, let's tilt this because we have got an overflow. Okay. So we need to block that there if we can. So, what are we going to block that with? Good question. Thinking on my feet, don't know. I might just need to take some of this out so that we haven't got as much in there and we won't have that overflow. There we go. That should maybe slightly more out. It's a shame because I did actually want it quite deep, but yeah, it's not going to happen because what I could do with is some kind of clay or, you know, Play-Doh or something like that, just to block that up. Right, now I think what we'll do is we will put something under one end of that. Let's just clean up first. She would probably save some of this, couldn't we? There we go. Save some resin. Because once this has set, we could probably get another layer in if we can work out a way to dam up that end. And the last time I managed to dam it up, and I'd forgotten about it, I had some resin that was at that really soft bendy stage, and I managed to just shape it and make a little dam, a little wall at the end there. That worked really well, and I might do the same again actually. We just got to wait until our resin gets to that point, so until then we'll keep it below the line of flowing out. Right, so let's just clean our up there. Now, is that going to be okay, or are we going to leak still slightly? Right, so let's just pop one of our silicone tools in the end there, like so. There we go. That should stop it for now. Right. Okay, now let's get this out of the way and get you back into shot so you can see what we're doing. Oops, there we go. That's it. Okay, so we have got enough to do another layer in a minute. And I'm going to think on my feet while we're putting some stuff in of how we're going to create a dam there, because obviously I don't have to hand right this second some resin that's at that stage of being malleable. So let's just see what we can come up with. Meanwhile, let's think, what do we need to put in first? Probably if we're going to put the fish in, I think that would be next, because that needs to be placed so we know where to put everything else, doesn't it? Looking at this, I think we're going to go with koi. I want something that's going to stand out. I'm thinking actually, and it's not, it's a Japanese fighting fish, I think, but this black one here, or some of these here. Let's get some scissors going. Let's see what we can cut out here. Let's have a look. Actually, we've got to be big enough that we can see them. So let's get a little grouping going on here. Because I'm thinking these are looking pretty good. Okay. There we go. Let's just get round here. That's it. And then there we go. And then what we'll do, I think, is we'll trim this right as close as we can. And I think we're just going to sink this into our resin as a group, because I think individually it's going to be too fiddly, and they're going to move and it's going to be a little bit of a nightmare. So I think once this is underwater, you're not really going to see the plastic in between. So yeah, I think we'll just kind of go with a nice close trim and pop them in while it's still wet, and they can set at the bottom. Right, you know, my idea is to give us as much depth as I can to make it as realistic as possible. So let's go around there. Sorry, I'm out of shot, aren't I? You can't see what I'm doing. I'm so worried about dropping bits of plastic in. Right, so now I'm thinking we're going to drop this in. Yeah, I like that. I do like that. Okay. That gives us a real nice depth, doesn't it, having those there like that? So that's great. That's working beautifully. Yes, I'm very happy with that. Okay, I'm thinking then, is there anything else we need to put in while it's still wet? I think we could pop a few snail shells in while it's still wet. So let's pick out some of these. Now I used these on a previous make, so they are slightly sticky, but that's okay. Once they go in, we're not going to care about that, are we? So we're going to pop a few in and let them just settle where they will, like that. Right, let's just turn you over if we can. There we go. And we can turn you, we'll keep you that way. That's it. Down you go. Let that settle down to the bottom. Leave that sitting on that little ledge there. And I think we can just have you nestling there. Maybe at the edge there. Now you, I think we can have kind of a bit more out in the open. There we go. Maybe there. There we go. So we've got our little shells in. There's quite a sweet little orangey toned one there. Let's just drop you in if we can. There we go. That's it. Okay. Now I'm debating, because things seem to be actually floating quite well on the top of that resin. Will they stay there or will they gradually sink is the question. I don't know. Let's just see what happens with these little blossoms. Let's see if they stay on top or not, or whether they're going to sink. One thing, before I put that there, actually, one thing I do want to do is give this a little quick blast and get rid of any bubbles, like so. That's it. After that, then we will have to use our alcohol. Okay, it looks pretty much like that's going to stay there, doesn't it? Which would be rather good. Okay, so let's grab a few more. I'm going to take my gloves off for now, because I can't really get hold of things properly and everything's sticking to me. So let's get rid of those. Okay, now excuse my hands, I've been outside in the garden today as well, so you know what it's like when you're gardening, it gets everywhere, doesn't it? Okay, so that's it. Quick clean up. Now I've got these little leaves, which I thought would be good to just drop in. And this kind of blossomy, I don't know what plant this is, but it just reminds, I know it's not, but it just reminds me of a cherry blossom for some reason. It's so pretty. I think we can just kind of let that sit there. Now, if some of these do sink, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. I mean, that's what happens in water, isn't it? So, I'm good with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. What I would like is a bit more greenery. Under here, we have got some dried leaves. I prefer to use dried flowers and leaves as much as possible, to be honest. But it's not always possible, is it? So now we have a little bit of fern here. I'm going to trim up so that we get the individual little leaves in, because it is just a little piece that was left over from a previous make. So now we'll just get that on there. There we go. We're just going to pop you on the surface, and then thinking if we do this, cut down one side of that, and we can put this, just dab that so it sticks. There we go. I'm thinking I'd quite like some, no, see, the greenery doesn't really show up against the yellow, so we'll pop it on the surface of the water so that we can see it. And I'm thinking, looking at that, we're better off going with blossoms more than leaves. So we've got some more here. That's it. I love these little fine blossoms. They're just, well, it's bits of one blossom, but obviously it just cuts down nicely for here. And we can pop you just there. That's it. And then we've got, I really must get some tweezers. Stuff like this you could really do with some tweezers. My fingers are not wanting to be precise enough. Now what I do want to do is bring it up onto the hands as well, because, you know, in nature it doesn't all just go neatly into the water and nowhere else, does it? So we will bring some of this blossom up onto the hands. But if you're going to do that, coat it a little bit with the resin so that you get that kind of wet look. There we go. Just tuck that round like so. Now, less is more, I suppose, with this kind of thing, isn't it? I don't know that I've got any greenery that's going to... I have got some that might stand up. I'd like a bit to stand up at the water's edge if I can. So let's just see if we've got something that will maybe stand against the... kind of like that, I suppose, if we just lay it on there. I think that's going to be too big, maybe. What do you think? That would be okay, mightn't it? If we take that stalk off, let's just take that down shorter. I do need a bit of stalk. So what I want to do is just see if we can just lay it there. Perfect, I'm happy with that. Yes, that's exactly what I want. Okay, don't think that's going to look right. Now let's see if we can get some little micro pieces. And I think last time I used a little bit of this. If we just cut down here and cut that off, there we go. And these come out then as little individual get rid of that. Now you can just kind of sprinkle on the surface again. Come here. A bit messy, but I think in the end it will look really pretty. There we go. Sprinkle some of these on. Now I don't want to sprinkle where the fish are. Now that sticker's kind of half floating, and again, I'm actually quite happy with that because it looks as if my fish is swimming up to the surface. And that kind of works, doesn't it? And they're just going to come up through the little bits of flour and things. So I don't want to make it too busy that we can't see them, but at the same time, kind of want to make it as natural as possible. So we're going to pop a bit of this on the edges because that would work. It would fall there too. And just some of these little bits here. You don't really want the husky glitter though. That's what if you've watched my channel, that's what we call the fur from the huskies. I've got two beautiful huskies, but they are right mid-shed at the moment, which is a bit of a nightmare. Now, what you do have to do is make sure you have got a bit of resin there so that it sticks. Otherwise, all this is just going to fall off. There we go. So we'll just do that. That's it. Bring that resin just up on the edge there. And just up on the end there. And I suppose at this point, you know, it would be sensible to get a brush, wouldn't it? But being as we're nearly there, we'll persevere with what we're doing, I think. There we go. So now we know that's not going anywhere. The same for that one. And this one here. There we go. Just make sure it sticks. Now ideally, yes, I should have gloves on, but it's just so difficult to feel what you're doing, basically. Now, before we forget, we do have this this other little flower here, and I'm thinking colour-wise we want something to stand out, don't we? So green and pink are out because we've got enough of that. Possibly yellow, or we could pick out cerulean again, a bit samey. What about this blue? This blue would really stand out, wouldn't it? Let's see if we can just bring this. Oh, out you come. I'm thinking we can just drop you just there, like that. There we go. Yeah. What do you think? Fish are swimming around. There we go. Now what I do want to do is grab a couple of those snails. I want to pop a snail up onto the hand if I can. So we'll get a couple of these. And I'm thinking maybe on here. Or actually no, I've got something else I want to put there. So maybe on here. Maybe we could dam our little thing up there with a snail. We could pop him there into that little channel. That'll work, won't it? What about one on a fingertip? How about that? That might be fun, mightn't it? What do you think? And pop him on there. It still wants to stick up, doesn't it? We'll go around there. That's it. Now, that will do for that, I think. And then, let's move this out of the way and we'll clean this up in a minute. Just brush that to one side a bit. I have got these fun little toadstools. So we'll do one with a stalk. That's it. I think we can stand there. Are we going to stand up? Just wondering if that's, yes, the resin is soft enough for me to stick that stalk into the resin. So that will just hold that really nicely. Now I'm going to angle that because it's, funny enough, got a flat side there, which it's not meant to have. So I'm thinking that I can put the second one next to it. So